I just want to point this out. So President Trump is shaking hands with a lot of these world leaders. And this is something that we saw at Notre Dame as well. They come to him. They want their moment. They know that they are in a negotiation with the President of the United States over many things. And he is definitely a gravity center at these events. So just an interesting side note there. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Just want to point that out.
No. But so basically,
world leaders flock to President Trump as former President Joe Biden almost falls while walking. Peace between Russia and the Ukraine is said to be within reach. The new script is out as a fear-mongering doctor talks about something that's worse than COVID-19. And a prominent Epstein victim has recently been found dead. There is a lot to talk about today, so let's get back to the president's trip to the Vatican.
Tom Llamas there, standing by again in St. Peter's. Tom, let's talk about what we're seeing here. Again, we see President Trump getting ready to take his seat. Who else can we expect to see here?
Well, moments ago, the cameras captured Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky walk down those same steps. It sounded like the crowd started to applaud for President Zelensky as he walked in. But of course, President Trump and the French president as well, Emmanuel Macron, had walked in just before that. It's incredible when you look at this, Craig, and you think about all the things that are happening in the world and how there are so many world leaders who are at odds right now, but they are coming together at least for 90 minutes to celebrate this great man, Pope Francis, for all the work he had done. And for a moment, at least, right, for a few hours today, the world will come together in peace and think about this man and the work he did.
You don't see former President Biden in these shots. And the contrast between President Trump and Biden is just striking, because you probably remember when President or former President Biden did this, right? I'm not really sure what Joe was trying to do here, but it's pretty clear that he bumped foreheads with the Pope. It's also noticeable that Biden was placed way behind President Trump. Now, you can understand that he's no longer the president of the United States, but you would think that he would be closer up front than this, right? It should also note that he's seated behind the Iranian Minister of Culture and Guidance, Abbas Salih, about 3 to 4 rows behind President Trump. There's also something else that happened that raised a few concerns regarding the former president. Photos emerged of the elder Biden needing the help of both his wife, Jill Biden, and a priest to help him walk down a set of steps. It's a rare public appearance, and it just shows how frail the former president is. The same can't be said for Trump, who seemed to make a strong statement as he set Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky aside for a private talk. Now, I want you to watch carefully, because there's something here that a lot of people missed. Look in the comments down below and see what other people are noticing about what happened here.
Sidelines of the Pope's funeral, there was an opportunity for world leaders to discuss the war in Ukraine face to face. The US President Donald Trump sat down with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in St. Peter's Basilica ahead of the funeral. It is the first time the two of them have met since their very public row in the Oval Office at the end of February. A White House official said it was a very productive discussion. Meanwhile, in a statement online, the Ukrainian president said, "Good meeting. We discussed a lot one-on-one, hoping for results on everything we covered, protecting lives of our people, full and unconditional ceasefire, reliable and lasting peace that will prevent another war from breaking out. Very symbolic meeting that has potential to become historic if we achieve joint results. Thank you, POTUS," he signed off. Well, after leaving Rome, the US President Donald Trump posted this on Truth Social: "I'm just trying to clean up the mess that was left to me by Obama and Biden, and what a mess it is." With all of that being said, there was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas, cities and towns over the last few days. It makes me think that maybe he doesn't want to stop the war. He is just tapping me along and has to be dealt with differently through banking or secondary sanctions. Too many people are dying.
Now, you might not have noticed it, but if you go back and you check the clip, 3 seats were prepared. One for President Trump, another for Zelensky, and the third was rumored for Emmanuel Macron. Now, it's being reported by some that President Trump told Macron that this was a meeting for him and Zelensky only, and that a third person wouldn't be needed. And as we saw from the videos and the photos released, the two talked in a one-on-one setting. We have to face that President Trump ending this war would be another achievement added to his second term. But it also reminds me of what John Bolton said several weeks ago. Now, of course, we do know that John Bolton suffers from severe TDS because this is what he said.
Principals, Secretary of State Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz kind of do the talking?
Look, the pressure that Trump has put on for a ceasefire is motivated by one thing, Trump's desire for good publicity and to buttress his case to get a Nobel Peace Prize. You want a ceasefire between two warring parties, they need to decide it.
Bad news for John Bolton because it looks as if we're very close to peace. Is John Bolton just a straight up hater? Here's what President Trump had to say about the two warring nations.
I think Russia and Ukraine, I think they're coming along, we hope. Very fragile. They're meeting with Putin right now as we speak. And we have a lot of things going on. And I think in the end, we're going to end up with a lot of good deals, including tariff deals and trade deals. We're going to make our country rich, but we're going to try and get out of war so that we can save 5,000 people a week. And that's what my aim is. I want to save 5,000 young men. They happen to be mostly Ukrainian, Russian. 5,000 young Ukrainian and Russian men. And that's a big honor if I can do it. I think we're pretty close.
Now, let's move on to some really big news in terms of pandemics. We're getting this new narrative from CBS News, and they're telling us that this is just so much worse than COVID-19. Now, you guys let me know. Is this just straight up fear mongering, or is this really going to be worse than COVID-19? Let me know, guys. And if you haven't already, please take a second and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the support, you guys. I can't play the clip because they'll strike the video down. We already know how they play here, right? I will give you guys the play-by-play. It's about the bird flu and its alleged potential to become the next pandemic. This is despite the fact that, transmission of bird flu to humans is extremely rare. Symptoms are usually very mild, if it ever even occurs. And the only death that we know of was a patient who already had underlying health conditions. But that's not the message that they want to send to Americans across the country. They want everybody freaking out and panicking in the streets. Dr. Cameron Kahn went on 60 Minutes to say that the influenza is a formidable virus that constantly changes, which means that it's plausible that bird flu becomes the next virus that becomes easier to be transmitted onto humans. Now, what's funny is he gives a very vague statement about this virus causing a pandemic, citing that it's possible it happens next week, next year, or never. So whichever way you look at it, they can't be wrong. And here's the best part. They then went into talking about vaccines to solve this problem that's not even a problem yet. Nor did they ever confirm that it was even actually going to happen. So are they going to make it happen? Now, the vaccines for bird flu hasn't been approved by the FDA, but it is not assured that these companies don't fast track a vaccine because of the fear that these doctors are spreading onto the public. So we're going to have to wait and see if this actually works a second time around like they did last time. Although many experts are already saying that more people will probably be hesitant to trust the vaccines, especially if proper safety protocols and testing are being bypassed. I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to persuade your opinion or your decision one way or the other. But I just got to ask you guys, if a vaccine were to be created for this particular would-be pandemic that they're talking about, would you get the vaccine? Just yes or no on that one. Do you trust it? Now, I want to pivot here to a tragic story that's connected to a vocal Epstein victim, a story that could be telling us that we're not going to get the list under this administration or any other administration for that matter.
Breaking news coming in, some sad news to share. We're learning this from the New York Post, several other outlets reporting this as well. Virginia Giuffre, the most prominent victim of the late convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, took her own life on Thursday. This is just weeks after she made headlines for saying that she had days to live after she claimed to have been hit by a bus. A statement given to NBC News was quoted as such from the 41-year-old's family. It says, "It's with utterly broken hearts that we announce that Virginia passed away last night at her farm in Western Australia. She lost her life to suicide after being a lifelong victim of sexual abuse and sex trafficking."
Something just doesn't make sense here. In 2019, Virginia posted online that she was not suicidal, saying that too many evil people wanted to see her quieted. I want you guys to realize something here. She got hit by a bus and was told that she had days to live. She survived and fought to recover. Then she turns around and commits suicide anyway. Is it me, or is this just a little odd that someone would do something like that? The pieces of the puzzle do not fit here. So what do you think the real truth is behind this? I cannot wait to see the comments that you guys leave on this one. But now let's talk about a recent live stream where I talked about and covered Nancy Pelosi. The former House Speaker broke her hip last year, and now it looks like she'll never fully be recovered. In fact, she's showing signs that Biden showed at the latter part of his presidency. Make sure you guys check this out because it might be time for term limits. As always, thanks for hitting the like button and for subscribing. We'll see you guys next time.